So bodies, traditional Chinese medicine, traditional WuXing system, Yin-Yang system. The initial aspect I would like to emphasize is the Yin-Yang system itself, which plays a vital role in understanding the balance of opposing forces. In other words, Yin-Yang is extremely straightforward to comprehend and highly effortless to integrate into the initial phase of understanding the world in duality, making it very easy to grasp and incorporate. There is a 1, there is a 0, either yes or no. There are only 2 options, yes or no. There is day, there is night, light on, light off. There are periods of daylight and periods of darkness. The muscle is tense, the muscle is relaxed, the individual is satisfied, the individual is dissatisfied. So, every single phenomenon that exists in your surroundings, including your various states of being, has the ability to be efficiently categorized within this particular system. Yes, in this system there are actually 3 symbols. That is, if you look at the Yin-Yang symbol, as I have already mentioned many times, besides there being white, besides there being black, there is also what separates them and what brings them together. It is like one force in reality. It both separates and unites them. Well, you can call it love, you can also call it something else. The main point is that it actually exists, right? So, apart from this particular state and its opposite, there is actually another state that is positioned in between them, right? It is not as big as these two, it is not so visible, correct? Well, for instance, between day and night, there is the period of dawn and the period of dusk. And this is the time of sunrise and sunset. It is shorter, but it is very beautiful. It is special. It is like this crack between worlds. And this crack between worlds exists in everything, including in the condition of an individual. That is, an individual has the ability to sleep and be awake, or they have the option to engage in meditation. This is an extremely significant moment for understanding, right? Therefore, by following the law, you comprehend and become aware of it. By comprehending the law, you can in some way manipulate it. In other terms, you step into the current and yield to it. By assuming the flow, you can exercise control over it. It is advantageous when a person possesses intelligence and cognitive capabilities. There is a possibility to somehow move them, yes, to think somehow. It's worse when everything moves along primitive rails, and you have to deviate from them first before giving something to a person. So for numerous individuals, it was previously stated your glass is already full, it needs to be emptied first, then we have the ability to fill it with something. The entity that currently exists holds no value. It requires eradication, thereby enabling us to create an alternative entity in its designated location. And so, at the beginning of an individual's journey, as I see it, the initial thing that should happen is the breakdown of what was complex and wrong, in my perspective. An individual must understand that he is a nobody, he is nothing. It has to be eliminated, destroyed, erased completely. Your personality, your ego, and from there, from the point where you, in principle, have experienced the death experience, yes, it is already possible to build something new, something more rational, more conscious, more adequate. Well, I believe the Yin-Yang system is clear, so let's move on to the WuXing. Yes, that is, we see 5 from these 3. So there was one here, he is one lawful. He is lawful to himself, and actually he is such a law unto himself that he has no one to talk to, nothing to talk about, and no reason to. Therefore, he himself, with his intention, that is, without any specific intention, he would not have fallen apart on his own. So he divided himself with his volitional intention and ended up with a total of 3. Yin, Yang, and the law that brings them together and sets them apart. But then it started that Yin gives birth to Yang, Yang gives birth to Yin. This is already 3 grams. Let's suppose there is WuXing, yes, and it is indeed a slightly different system from what we have. In order to grasp the concept, it is essential to understand that there are various kinds of primary elements. Well, I am not sure. Platonic bodies or whatever you want to call them, yes. But the fact of the matter is, the existence of these primary elements is clearly evident, and indeed they undeniably exist. There is a kind of ether present which can be stretched and pulled. It was included in Mendeleev's table of elements. But even from what we observe, from what we comprehend, from these 5 fundamental elements, one element brings forth another. This element brings forth the third brings forth the fourth brings forth the fifth. And once again, they go in a circle, which is what it is called, the circle of generation. And the influence of the grandmother, that is through one element, affects the first, the third, the fifth, then the second, the fourth, and once again the first. So it turns out to be a star within the PTN elemental structure, which is the circle of control, a pentacle, a certain law and order, which is a certain force. When one of the primary elements, if it strongly breaks out in the potential set, it suppresses the one it influences by its force, oppressing him and exerting its dominance over the entire system, thereby establishing a hierarchical relationship of power. And vice versa, if the person pressing on it is significantly larger, there is no possibility to control it. The meridian will go in the opposite direction, and this is a problem, a physiology problem arises. Well, my friends, you also possess an understanding that in the cycle of generation based on traditional Chinese medicine, fire represents the heart, earth represents the spleen with pancreas, metal represents the lungs, water represents the kidneys, and wood represents the liver in the context of the 5 elements theory. The liver once again generates fire, once again agitates the heart. The heart generates the spleen and gives rise to the fire of digestion, providing the necessary energy for the process. From that point, everything returns to the lungs. So what is the purpose? We must comprehend that these 5 elements can be observed everywhere in the identical manner. Therefore, just like the concept of yin-yang, it actually exists within each and every phenomenon. But we cannot definitively state that, for example, a tense muscle is yang and a relaxed one is yin, as it is a more complex and nuanced relationship between the two. Given that tension is yang, let's assume it's around 90%. But it's crucial to acknowledge that there is still a 10% presence of yin in the equation. And relaxation is 90% yin. Both yin and yang exist in every phenomenon, but it is more predominantly expressed like this. And if we look at the systems of WuXing, we will see that one of the primary elements is more predominant, but all the others are also present there. Thus, traditional Chinese medicine observes and recognizes 5 different manifestations of the primary elements in each phenomenon that it encounters. They can be found everywhere, just like how we perceive the sun, for instance. Yes, here is the light as such, in its true form and essence. Is there more going on here? Fire, yes, fire. This is fire, its light, its manifestation. The yang fire, strong, yes, like the sun shining, yes. So where does the moon, for example, fit in most easily? Metal, yes, because it is cold, white, and surrounded by darkness. So it is kind of sharp in its own way, clear and structured, which gives it a unique and distinctive quality that sets it apart from other materials. Metallic, that is, any item you obtain, we can establish a connection to one of the fundamental constituents of matter. Why even break it down into these 5 elements? The understanding that you can see the interaction of the structure consisting of 5 elements in a phenomenon indicates that you can comprehend how to achieve balance in that particular phenomenon, that specific occurrence. When considering the individual, it is important to understand which primary elements are in excess and which are deficient in them. This understanding can help determine whether it is better for them to consume something red or prioritize sleep. By identifying these elements, we can determine the mechanisms that will enable a person to achieve maximum results with minimal effort, thereby maintaining the balance of the 5-element system. This knowledge is crucial in optimizing the individual's well-being and ensuring a harmonious equilibrium within their system. You know, I actually delved a little deeper and observed individuals who work very effectively in this system. And I arrived at the conclusion that it is a remarkable system, especially suitable for those who do not yet have an energetic vision or a clear understanding of their goals and aspirations. So when you see, it's actually easier for you. There, in reality, there are not 5 of them. You comprehend that there are a plethora of additional diverse energies and their respective states. But in order to be able to explain, calculate, and put it all together for yourself, including the transfer to physical health, it has a very strong power, very significant value, even if you don't see it yet. In my view, it is imperative to feel and comprehend what is within me, as well as the interconnections and implications, in order to cultivate a holistic understanding of the topic at hand. Hence, I strongly suggest dedicating time to read a brief book on the 5-element system of WuXing. This will enable you to gain valuable insights and comprehension of this fascinating topic. Read books that provide insights into understanding the concept of Yin-Yang and delve into the intricacies of understanding the process of primal generation. This is a learning process. Some phases happening, yes, with a person. The person there, I don't know, is performing, yes, like a star shining brightly. Everything is burning with fire, yes, fire. So an individual I do not know in some other states over there, yes, practices meditation, yes, well, most probably water, yes, because while in a state between life and death, he is immersed in some sort of informational current, yes, internally. In every phenomenon, one can see the manifestation of one force or another. The more you will notice around you, inside you, in your manifestations, in the manifestations of other people, oh, this is the power. Oh, this is the power. The more quickly you comprehend the nature of power, its impact, its manifestations, and the subsequent consequences, the sooner you will grasp its significance. After this stage, individuals experience a boost in self-confidence and a firmer footing after a successful performance, provided that it was truly remarkable and they were fully engaged. So, after this state, people who have been burned with fire become more self-assured and stand more firmly, gaining confidence from their bright performance if it truly shone, if they genuinely burned. If a person confidently stands on their feet and expresses their position firmly, then this quality of being Rajasic will further manifest in specific actions. Yes, it will already be cutting through, demonstrating its power and effectiveness in a clear and decisive manner. If a person has already entered the phase where they are actively chopping something, it means they will get tired and become like water, yes, relax and flow. That is the end, feeling tired from chopping and decided to go to sleep, yes, made a transition to another state. And from this state, he will again go as a tree, yes, he will go to something new again, yes, he will strive for something, absorb some knowledge, yes, to then express it again, ignite with knowledge again, and start expressing it again. And here we go in circles again. He expresses it again, self-affirms again, already started from self-affirmation, yes, then fell asleep again, relaxed again. And we can observe this cycle in any action, that is, all actions follow one another in a continuous and unbroken succession. And then it becomes apparent what influences what. That is, if you wish to extinguish a fire, the most straightforward approach is to exert an influence on it with the use of water. If you observe the Earth's stability, it indicates the need for more knowledge like a tree does to thrive in that environment. It's like a tree loosening the soil. You can provide some informational foundation that will be unstable. It is a structure that appears to be firmly standing on its feet. You possess another piece of knowledge that throws it off balance and challenges its stability. If you observe metal, it signifies that you ought to manifest with fire instead. Fire causes metal to melt. What influences one another? What puts out what? What is in opposition or acts as an obstacle to what? How does it operate or function? Well, dear friends, you have the capability to draw your own analogies, peruse books, conduct experiments, engage in practice, make an attempt, and see how it goes. I can state one thing. Out of all the systems that are accessible to me, and I have witnessed numerous different systems, traditional Chinese medicine, in my viewpoint, is the system that is closest to what truly exists in terms of its effectiveness and understanding of the human body. All other things, not to say that it is in doubt, but it lacks a clear, logical, complete description based on what I have observed with my own eyes and comprehended with my own understanding up until this point in time. When it comes to prediction systems, we can talk about various methods such as tarot cards, runes, and potentially other systems that I am not familiar with at the moment. Among them, out of all, yes, Chinese Feng Shui, yes, Chinese Bagua, yes, these are the systems that, as I see it, yes, are the closest to what is called truth and reality, yes, to what is called reality as I see it. Thank you all, friends. Goodbye, everyone.